In the forgotten village of Nyori, nestled between whispering hills and a quiet river, lived a boy named Tari. He was known for his silence, not the kind that holds secrets, but the kind that holds sorrow. While the other children laughed in the fields or cried when they scraped their knees, Tari said little and never shed a single tear, not even when his father vanished into the river one stormy night. Tari's mother, a woman of warm hands and tired eyes, would often whisper, "Tari, your heart is a deep well. One day something will draw the water up." But years passed, and no tears came, not when the river dried one summer and the crops withered, not even when he watched an old friend move away without goodbye. People began to murmur. "That boy feels nothing," said a man at the market. "He's hollow," whispered a woman washing clothes by the river. Tari heard them, but never answered. Deep inside he felt everything, but it was as if his feelings were locked behind a wall, and he didn't have the key. Then one morning, just before dawn, something strange happened. The river, quiet and calm for years, began to weep. A soft, steady sound like someone crying. The villagers gathered, confused. "Why does the river sound like it's mourning?" someone asked. Tari stood at the river's edge, and something stirred in him. Not fear, not sadness, just an ache. As the sun slowly rose, the village elder stepped forward. She was bent with age, but her eyes were sharp. "This has happened before," she said quietly. "Long ago, when the village lost a child to grief. The river cried for her. It seems it cries again for someone still lost, but living." The villagers looked around. Then slowly all eyes turned to Tari. "Tari," the elder said gently, "why do you think the river cries?" Tari looked at the water. I don't know," he said. But something in his voice trembled. The elder nodded. "Then it is time for you to find out." That night, Tari's mother packed a small bundle, a woven bag with food, a gourd of water, and the scarf his father once wore. She pressed it into his hands. "You were never broken, Tari, just closed. Go. The river waits to show you something." Tari left before sunrise. The villagers watched him go, standing in silence, some curious, some hopeful, some relieved. Tari didn't turn around. He didn't need to. His journey had already begun. He followed the river's curve for hours, then days. As he walked, the river whispered beside him, sometimes soft, sometimes wild, sometimes still. At times, it almost sounded like it was speaking to him. "You remember," it would seem to say. "You just buried it." He passed forests where trees creaked like old bones, meadows where the wind sang like lullabies. He slept beneath stars and dreamed of a memory he couldn't touch. Then one evening, he arrived at a strange place, a fork in the river where one side ran clear and the other ran dark as ink. Between them stood a house built from old driftwood, its windows glowing softly. Tari knocked. The door opened to a woman with eyes like river stones, cold but not unkind. "I've been expecting you," she said. "Come in." Her name was Myli, and her house was filled with the scent of sage and salt. Tari sat by her fire, his hands wrapped around a warm bowl of stew. "Why can't I cry?" he asked her finally. Myli didn't answer. Instead, she asked, "Tell me about the night your father disappeared." Tari's jaw clenched. He hadn't spoken of that night in years. "It was raining," he said. "The river rose too fast. He told me to run. I did. I looked back, and he was gone." "And did you cry?" Myli asked. "No," he whispered. "I waited to, but I didn't. I wanted to. I needed to, but nothing came." Myli nodded. Sometimes our tears hide in the deepest places, so deep we forget where we left them. That night, she gave Tari a task. If you wish to unlock your heart, you must walk the path of echoes. She handed him a stone, smooth and wet, with river water. Take this. It remembers everything. The next morning, Tari followed her instructions. The path led him into a gorge with a river once carved through mountains. There, the wind carried voices, his voice, his father's, his mother's laughter, his own silence. And then he heard it. Why didn't you save me, Tari? It was his father's voice. Tari dropped to his knees. I was a child. I didn't know what to do. The gorge answered only with wind and water. Tari pulled out the stone. Its surface was now warm. As he stared into it, he saw a memory. His father's hand reaching, his own legs frozen, the fear too big to move. I was scared, he whispered, and suddenly a single tear rolled down his cheek. He gasped. It was small, but it was real. Then another came, and another. The gorge echoed, not with voices, but with the sound of his release, his grief, his guilt, his silence, all pouring out in silent sobs. Tari stayed there until night fell, until the tears slowed, until his chest no longer felt like it held a stone. When he returned to Miley's house, she smiled without asking anything. You found it, she said. Yes, he replied. I remembered. You forgave yourself? Tari nodded. She touched his cheek. Then the river will stop crying at dawn. Tari journeyed home. The river beside him flowed gently now, no longer weeping. When he reached Nyori, the village gathered again in silence. Tari stepped forward. I understand now, he said. I wasn't cursed. I was hurting. I locked it all away, but I faced it, and now I can feel again. To prove it, he let a tear fall. Just one, but it was enough. The elder stepped forward and smiled. Welcome back, child. Tari's mother ran to embrace him, tears in her own eyes. From that day, the river no longer wept at dawn. Instead, it sang, and every time someone stood by its banks with a heavy heart, they'd remember the boy who returned with tears, not because he was weak, but because he had found his strength. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone who might need a reminder that healing begins when we stop running from our own hearts. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story that speaks to your soul. Kindly tell me in the comments, have you ever held back tears you needed to cry? Let's talk about it. See you in the next video.